Hi, good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Missing a couple people, it's like Mike and, yeah, you guys, I want to introduce you guys. In the back is Jair. He's a new HVAC apprentice. And we have, the other people that I've hired is Galen, or Galen. I guess I'm not sure how he exactly, it's Galin. He's the new plumber that worked with Sarah yesterday. Heard her talking about him this morning. He's got like 15 years experience.
Nice.
And then we have Gio, who is an apprentice plumber. He worked with you too. How did he do for a new guy?
He's good, but he doesn't have any tools.
Yeah.
He's just newer.
I don't think he was expecting that yesterday. He expecting to
Yeah.
actually work yesterday like that, but he does. He says he has some basic stuff, but so he just didn't bring him with him yesterday because it was his first day coming in. But so, and then there's another gentleman that's coming in on Monday as a plumbing apprentice. So between all of that, we should have enough people to get us through the summer at this point, because we have Jesse as well. Now that I have Jair, that can work with Mike or drive Mike around and learn from Mike and all that good stuff. So you can do a lot of your own stuff now. So hopefully, between all of that, we should be set.
Get him a truck.
Brian,
In a truck.
Brian, our new comfort advisor, he basically kind of really started yesterday. Worked with maybe the day before, the night before a little bit. You worked with Kevin yesterday, though, right?
Yeah.
For a little bit. Okay. Oh, okay, so that guy's gonna be a little bit late. He's bad traffic. He's running a little late. Okay. So anyway, I wanted to kind of just go over a couple real quick things today. We don't have a lot to go over this morning, but on this form for your guys' commission, I just wanted to throw a couple things out, because most of the time, what's happening on these things is I'm getting information is missing, which means I've got to go look for it, or sometimes you fill out part of the information and not the rest of the information. So the thing that's kind of important over here for me, first of all, and Sarah does a pretty good job on putting notes and stuff if there's any notes, but if you're on a job and you're using a commission sheet like this and it's not your job, please put on the top working with Sarah or something to that effect. So then when I'm looking at, then I can go on to Sarah's sheet and see what Sarah's paying and know what you guys are getting paid, make sure everything matches up. And then the other thing is, on the other costs, if somebody sold it for you, Kevin sold the job, or Brian sold the job as a channel, or Sarah maybe sold the job for you as a channel, then I need you to put, some of you do put the channel fee in there, and you say, sold by Sarah or sold by Kevin. That's perfect. But if you don't put it there, which I had a couple of them this last week, and I'm going on there saying, okay, I know somebody had to sell this. Now I got to go into the system, because I don't normally just call Kevin. If Kevin happens to call me, I may ask him. But if not, I'm trying to look in there and say, okay, was Kevin ever on this job? Did I see Kevin on this job? And if I see Kevin, okay, there's the invoice, there's the estimate. So Kevin had to have sold it because Kevin wrote the estimate. But if I don't see that, and then same thing's going to be going on for Brian, I need to see and verify both directions, from the person who sold it and the person who is actually doing the job. Okay? The same thing with the flip. If you guys don't put that on there, it's hard for me to go back and say, oh, Ryan flipped something to Mike. Okay, great. Now I know that Ryan's, we know what's going to happen with that. I mean, I know what's going to happen. I don't have to guess. And then later on, someone comes back to me and says, oh, I didn't get paid on my flip. I flipped this to Mike, and and it ended up selling. And
Is just writing that on the top fine?
just on the top of it, because that's the first thing I'm going to see when I look
That's what
at
I
it.
figured.
The easiest thing for me to do. And then some of you guys are not putting your hours in here. Sarah's really good most of the time. I have no problem with Sarah on how she does it. For an example, and it stays in order when she gives them to me. Monday morning, I worked from 7:30 to 8 o'clock in training. She has that on the first commission sheet. So I know, okay. So I go in on Monday and I put in on the commission sheets that she worked a half hour for training. Then from 8 o'clock until 11 o'clock, she'll put whatever job she was on her commission sheet. And she'll put however many hours, so I know what day it was, Monday, and from 8 till 11, she's got 3 hours. Then the next job, she has from 11 until 2 or whatever. And it goes that way through the whole Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So that way, by the time I'm putting everything in on your pay sheets, I know, did you have overtime for that day? You know, because some of you guys are not, you just put in 2 hours, 3 hours, 5 hours, whatever, and sometimes the days are crossed out and they're mixed up, the dates. So I don't know, and then you don't put it on the right day, and if you have overtime, you should have that in where it has overtime hours. So if you're on your last job of the day and the last 2 hours are overtime, you know, and you worked a total of 6 hours, put 4 hours of regular time and 2 hours of overtime. That way I know that you're not missing your overtime. I don't want to not pay you guys what you worked. So that's what I'm trying to say, because it's happening where I'm calling you and saying, okay, what's going on with this, you know? Brett's been kind of new on this, so I had to bring him in. We went over some stuff. I think he's got a handle on it now. But if you guys put those hours in there for every day, and I know what regular time and overtime is, because keep in mind, if you guys are on a job and you're getting overtime, and it's a job that we're all aware of, is one thing. But the last thing I want to do is you just decide, hey, you know, there's only so much money in this job, and you decide on your own, I'm just going to work 5 hours of overtime, so I'm paying you commission plus 5 hours of overtime. I don't want to have to do that. If it's something that we have to get done and we know about it, that's one thing. But we don't want it to be a habit of just throwing overtime out the window, because that just takes money directly from the company. Okay? Any questions on this form for all you commission people? I know some of the new guys, hourly, I'll show you how to do your form a little later, okay?
I just have one. Yesterday I did an HPC.
Right.
And so when I do an HPC, I don't put any total for anything. All I put is HPC down in the, where
Right.
it says HPC held no money.
Right.
And
So, yeah.
And then the
right.
time, the date, how many hours
HPC
I
work.
did it.
Right, HPC work, the day is, how many hours it was, and then that's how you get paid on that. So if you were to do, like, for an example, just for those of you who don't know, let's say you went to an HPC, because the goal of an HPC is what? To sell something more, right? If it's a code upgrade, a cleaning of something that's in addition to the HPC, okay? So if you were to say, for an example, sell $300 in addition to the HPC on that same job, you may have 2 hours of HPC and 2 hours of work, that is, so a total of 4 hours, right? 2 for HPC, 2 hours of regular work, and then you're gonna have your dollar amount up on top for that additional work. So I know 2 hours goes to HPC, you get paid separate on that, and then you still get paid for your commission that's gonna come for the 2 hours that you put on the other work that was done. That make sense? If you didn't, then it's just the 2 hours HPC or the 1 hour HPC or whatever. Now, so on an HPC, and I wanna throw this out at you guys, make sure when you're in Service Titan that you are arrived and, you know, you 10-7 and 10-8. So 10-7 means I arrived, 10-8 means I'm done, right, with the job. Because, or it gets rescheduled or whatever the case is, because that kind of timestamps things for me as well. So if I don't see something on here, what I typically do, because I go into every job that you guys write in here. I actually type in the job, I look it up, I see, okay, anybody else work with you, how long were you there, and all of that. So sometimes you'll put, I'm there for 3 hours, but Service Titan says you're there for 20 minutes. Because maybe you didn't arrive yourself, or maybe you didn't, whatever. And so I'm sitting there going, okay, gosh, was he really there? Was she really there? But that gives me that extra little check, rather than me having to call you. Okay, yeah, they arrived at 10:12, they left at 2, whatever. I mean, I know then that you were there at that time, if you are arriving yourself and then, you know, closing it out. So that helps a lot on that as well. And then I also looked to make, you know, to see if there was anything sold, because I had to ask that question a couple times yesterday. Hey, I don't see a task in here, but we have a deposit for $250. There's a task in here, and we closed out the job. So now it says like the customer owes us the balance of that. I think it was $2,500 or something. I don't remember, but it was a 10% deposit. And then they decided not to do that work, but now they have something else they want to use that deposit on. So, you know, it's this whole mess that I've got to try to figure out.
Yeah,
Okay, so, yeah, I need you guys, and you don't close something out.
they want us to keep it so that,
Yeah,
you know.
don't close something out, guys, if.
Other stuff.
Their HVAC is jacked up.
Okay.
So they
All right, hold on.
have-
Let me get it out. I don't want you guys to close something out, complete the job, if there's a task in there that says $1,200 and we haven't collected. Okay, if it's AR, then it needs to be closed out as AR, if it's something like a commercial account or something like that, or we've approved an AR, it needs to have some payment, because if, once you close that out, it kind of goes off our radar, so to speak. We don't know what's going on with that. And in the case that I'm talking about, where we had a $250 deposit on a $2,500 job, so basically it said that they owe $2,250, we just closed it out. But how's anybody, we didn't know the job, there was a note in there, but the task wasn't deleted. So if they decide they don't want to do something, you have to delete the task and refund the money typically. But since we didn't do that, now they have another issue and they want us to use that $250 towards whatever work has to be done. So I had to kind of go in and do all kinds of minus this out and add it in here and do another deal. It's kind of a pain. So please make sure, good morning. Please make sure that you, if you have a question on it, all you gotta do is ask, okay? Because it's easier for me before you close it out to get in there and fix something and adjust it. I can walk you through it, whatever, so that we're all on the same page and we can take care of that going forward, because it makes it really hard when I've gotta, and especially I was in the middle of payroll, I'm like, what the heck is this? The same thing goes with tasks. If there's no task in a job, it's not a job. So what's happened in a couple of incidences, again, recently, is maybe somebody sends you out and maybe maybe we went out, for an example, we did an estimate, 2 estimates, 3 estimates, whatever. And we actually sold the estimate, but we said, we're not gonna do it now, we're gonna do it later. That does not create a job. It doesn't matter that it says sold estimate. The estimate does not, just by selling it, it does not create a job. You have to sell it and convert it. And then you book the job for whenever you're gonna do it. And then it can be scheduled that way. But by just clicking on, okay, so I sold it, and we don't actually book it and say we're gonna do it now, you always say I'm gonna do the job now, no matter what. Even though we're not gonna do it now, you say I'm gonna do it now, and the reason you do that is because that books the job, and then we can reschedule it for whenever we're gonna do it. That's the best way to do it. Because if you just do it all, I'm not gonna do the job right now, I'm gonna do it next week, it does not create a job. All it does is sell the estimate, but it's sitting in this bucket of sold estimates that hasn't been made into a job yet. Okay, so we can't do that. Because that happened a couple of times too yesterday, and I'm going in and I'm copying stuff and putting it on a new job and closing this one out as basically a no-go. So once we get all this straightened out, some of our reporting will be a little bit better, be a little bit easier for me to tell what's happening, like what we actually converted to a job, what we didn't. Because this way it's skewed, because now I've got 2 jobs for the same customer. One says we did nothing and one says we did, but it's really just one job that we actually booked. Does that make sense? Okay, so those are really the things I wanted to go over with that today. And here's Gallon for those of you. Is it Galen or Gallon? Either one? He whatever, call me whatever you want. Whatever's easy, okay. So this is the plumber I was telling you guys about that worked yesterday, and Sarah seemed to be really happy with him, so that was great.
I just wanted to mention, I don't know if this matters or not, but when I do estimates, and I put in tasks, it asks me sold by, and then I can scroll down and pick a name, which I always pick mine because I sold it.
Right.
But doesn't that show up?
That doesn't convert it. It shows that you sold the estimate when if I go into estimates sold, it'll show sold by Kevin, but it's not converted if it's not booked. So you have to click on booked, like we're gonna do it now, we're doing the job today, and then it becomes a job.
And then we call dispatch and have them transition to the day that we want it to be done.
Right, just reschedule the job to whatever day you want it done.
So when you collect payment, does that convert it to? Like
No.
if I
No,
collect payment-
you can't collect payment unless it's a job, which means there has to be a task in the invoice. So if you go into a job and you just sold an estimate and you say, I'm gonna do that later, and you're still open, your job is still open, or what, one you originally went to that has no money on it, there's no task in there unless it's been booked, that estimate's been booked. Or you can go in and add a task if you want. But then what you're doing is you're selling an estimate that doesn't ever get converted, and then you're adding a task to the job you already went to. You see what I mean? It's 2 separate things. So you have to, if you do an estimate, which normally we want to do good, better, best, give it to the customer, let them choose, they sign off on it, and then we basically book the job, sell it and book it, sold and convert, okay? So, and if you're ever in the middle of that and you have a question, what do I do next, just call me, I don't have a problem with that, I'll walk you through it, I just wanna make sure we're doing it right, because it makes it a lot easier when I go into a job, or when, let's say Kevin does sell one, but he doesn't convert it, and he just says, can you reschedule this job to next week? We get there now, it will say in the job that there's an estimate sold, but to convert that, once that's been done, it creates a whole nother job, it won't stay on that same job now. You see what I mean? So we don't wanna do that. Alright? Anything else? Kevin, you got it? Alright, so if you guys haven't noticed also, Beatrice has been she's gonna help out with the warehouse, and we're gonna see if that works out. She's been cleaning things up. She may need some of your guys' help both on plumbing and HVAC side, when there's not a lot going on, to help her identify some of the parts and things like that that are out there. There's a lot of stuff. I'm not sure how much we're pack ratting, or if we actually need some of the stuff that's out there. I've seen some steam units and some that look old and rusty, but they're sitting on the shelves. I don't know if there's parts that are good or what, so we've got to figure all that out and clear that place out. So if you're able to help and you're available when she's here, I'd appreciate your help with that. Okay? All right, that's all I have.